this is Sue Brain, and welcome back to the Astrology Interview. And today I have with me Victor Olliver, editor extraordinaire of the Astrological Journal and, of course, Stellar, which is this wonderful I'm going to say freebie. That's a bit doing it down a bit.
It's a freebie online magazine. It's something for nothing, people.
Yeah. Anyway, he's the editor of that as well. So today, what we're going to be talking about, and I hope you're not all bored with Trump, but he's such an interesting personality at the moment. We're going to be looking at two major relationships in his life playing out at the moment, and how and why they're playing out like they are. So Victor, let's launch in with
is this going to be a chart sharing show?
Yes, we're going to do that, because I think then everybody can learn from it as well and just see what you're describing and talking about.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with Trumpy and the Pope. Here we go.
Now let's get in there. Bear with me, people. And we start with dear old Don. I'm just doing a few changes on my thingy.
And while you're doing that, just to know that obviously a lot of people will know Donald Chart's chart, but I just think it's such an interesting thing to compare his chart with what is going on, as we're saying, with the Pope. And then later on, we'll be going to look at Melania and his chart and how that's playing out at the moment, because he's got Uranus square his ascendant at the moment and his Mars. So things are massively changing for him. And it's just an interesting exercise to kind of see how astrology, you can't make this stuff up. And this is an example of it.
It's what I'm saying. Before we put the show on, we were saying these charts are spectacularly articulate of what we know. I mean, most astrologers are familiar with Trump's chart. We see Mars rising there. Some people have convinced themselves that it must be in Virgo, where they must be on another planet, because no way is he Virgo rising. He doesn't even look it. No. But he also has this spectacular Uranus North Node Sun in Gemini in the 10th house. We do have a time for him, so we're pretty confident, and that obviously classifies him as a leader. We may not like to hear that, but he is into his second term. And he was born, and this is quite interesting, and you'll know this, Sue. He was born under a full moon, and full moons tend to be associated not just with vampiric creatures, but also with quite explosive people or very demonstrative people. And if you combine that with where Uranus is, the planet of spectacular independence, Mars rising, a full moon, and that moon is close to his south node, what could that mean? I'll leave that to you to decide. So, and it's also very interesting. This is like throwing gelignite into your gas oven. It really is. And it's very interesting too that most of his money has come from land deals. And it's very interesting that the 11th house, which we associate with profits from business, has Cancer, which is the sign of land in that deal. Yes, a lot of people don't recognize the 11th house as a money house, but it is.
Yeah, especially I think when you have Jupiter in it. That's what I've heard.
Jupiter's found itself down in Libra, which is interesting in the second house, and that's just as good for income.
Absolutely. Isn't that interesting? And Neptune's there, Victor, isn't it?
Yes.
So the money's come and gone, and money comes and goes.
And it's disposited by Cancer. Jupiter. Which in turn is disposited by that slightly malignant moon that he's got down next to his south node, because the south node we associate with default characteristics, what we know, past lives, the challenges that we face. I mean, we've had this conversation with Draconic. So in a funny sort of way, I won't say too much about this, but it's a dangerous thing to say, given that he's not universally popular, but maybe some people get born to cause trouble, to break down boundaries.
Yeah, true. And he's certainly doing that. He's taken the lid off Pandora's box.
He probably is Pandora's box. I mean, where did he get that hair?
Well, I think that's the yellow, isn't it? The orange. It's Leo rising.
And what's that rash on his neck? Is that a love bite or something?
What?
He's got this funny rash on his neck here,
Oh, I
and
can't remember what somebody said about that. There's so many
I
conspiracy
think it's a
theories.
love bite by a camel. I'm sure of it.
Well, I tell you, it's not by the Pope, that's for sure.
Well, shall we go to the Pope's chart?
Yes, talking of which.
So, wait, I was saying to you earlier, we're talking about chalk and cheese here. If we agree that Trump is the cheese, here we've got the chalk because he's whiter than white chalk. Okay, I'm just made that up. But as we can see, we don't have his birth time, so the convention is to do a midday chart. You can do a midnight chart if you like, but if we do midday, that does place his moon, which is the fastest moving of the planets. It moves up to 12, 13 degrees a day or so. And so we allow it in, but if he was born before midday, it's possible that it's in Leo. But we won't worry about that too much because he's already got Venus, Sun, and Mars in Virgo.
Yeah.
Ignore the houses. It's just I don't like houseless charts. They look a bit too naked for me. But so we don't actually know which house. And I know you've got some thoughts on that, where Virgo could be placed, Sue.
Well, as soon as I saw his chart, I thought there's a Pope, lots of Virgo. And I did wonder, it would be very interesting. You said about the ninth house and all the Virgo was in the ninth house. And I was saying the 12th house.
Yeah,
So we don't know, obviously, but
no.
there's a lot of Virgo there.
It's very interesting. We associate the sign of Virgo with words and numbers, with high
Yeah,
analysis, and it's interesting that he is a
Virgin.
mathematician
Yes, he
and a
is.
teacher of physics. And it's very interesting that the moon, the Mars. I always think of Mars as not repressed in Virgo, but it redirects energies away from, say, aggression into a kind of determination to find accuracy and perfectionism and things like that.
He's kind of like a master planner. I always think that
Master,
Mars in Virgo, kind of like the archetypal master planner.
absolutely.
Everything's
And as you've noted, Pluto's quite close. It's dissociate
yeah,
conjunct. Well, actually, it's quite distant looking at it now. Oh
yeah.
no, it's not. Wait a minute.
No,
Let's have
no,
a look.
no. It's
No, no, it's within. It's
yeah.
within orb. But some people don't like crossing signs, do they? I don't worry about that.
No, nor do I.
And it's a very powerful moon. That it means that he immerses in things. He's a truth. He's a great desire for truth. I mean, truth is a relative thing. A lot of people say that it's the truth in the Catholic Church. I'm not going to answer that question, but it nonetheless gives rise to that kind of energy. And
Mm.
the other thing that I want to draw to your attention, bearing in mind we're ignoring houses, so the ninth house thing, I'm going to abandon that one. I quite like your 12th house idea. Notice how I quickly changed tack. But he does
There
have,
speaks a Gemini.
yes, fleet of foot. But he does have his destiny point, the North Node, and that's the representative of the things that are challenging us to grow. Interestingly, in the sign of Sagittarius retrograde, and of course, the sign can be associated with the church and ethics and things like that. But the North Node Lilith is interesting. I said North Node, I've been Black Moon Lilith. A lot of people don't know what this is. It's actually a mathematical point. It represents the furthest that the moon goes in its orbit around Earth. And it's associated in some respects with isolation, but mythically with feminine power. But I think in modern times, we're associating it a lot with suppression and dealing with those subjects which are taboo or stigma. And power comes to the person who
Yeah.
faces those kind of problems in their own life. I'm wondering whether, in the Pope's case, religion itself is causing him to explore types of sexuality or that which is stigmatic or taboo or whatever. I don't know what you feel about that.
Well, he's got Saturn in Scorpio.
Well, there you go.
There you go. I found it this is very interesting, isn't it? And this, but also he's got this Jupiter in Leo. And my experience of people with Jupiter and Leo, whoa, don't you can't ignore them. They're out there doing their thing. So he maybe feel it, that sort of Virgo is very humble and and he is that kind of guy. But you have Jupiter in Leo, you want to shine your light.
Oh, yes. and being Pope is one way to do it. I mean,
Absolutely.
the Virgo energy would have probably disguised a lot of that fiery energy
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it can get expressed with Virgo, because it's a mercurial sign. One might associate it with intellectualism, with the mind, with words, numbers. We've said he's a mathematician, a physics
Yeah.
person. Um, so the astrology is fantastic in sort of the layers of people, the layers of situations.
Mm.
And you've got Uranus in Leo as well.
Yeah. Well, that's generation because he's the same age as me, isn't he? Oh no, he's
Yep.
2 years. He's 2 years younger than me. But I also find it very interesting. He's got Venus in Virgo, and Venus in
Yes.
Virgos. They like to keep themselves to themselves.
Well, but it's
Keep it,
also close
keep
to
it
Venus.
clean and tidy.
Clean and tidy. Yes, he'll be quite. No, his bedroom will be spotless, probably.
Yeah, yeah, and yes, and I
Um,
don't think that Venus and Virgo is particularly. Well, I mean, you never know about what lies underneath the surface, but I
well,
would imagine he's quite what we call possibly asexual. But with that Jupiter in Leo, that's another matter.
but then it's sometimes said of the earth signs that there's a kind of raw power. But of course, he's supposed to be celibate as the Pope, so
Well,
it's
this is it.
probably
That's
best not
very Venus in
speculate. But
Virgo, isn't it?
yeah, but it's
Yeah,
interesting that Sun and Venus are close. So there's a lot of, even though it's in Virgo, there will be a lot of projected charm, depending on where it actually is in the chart. Of course, there'll be
yeah.
a lot of ability, which is one of the reasons why we're talking about the Pope, and we'll come back to this, is that he has fallen out with Trump big time
Big time. So,
over Iran.
so what shall we let's go to there then. Why has this happened, do you think?
Well, Trump made some pretty brutal statements about what he planned to do with Iran if they didn't, agree,
Like
and said he
on
would
destroy the
obliterate.
civilization. Yeah,
Yes,
very
and
helpful.
that which is a war crime, by the way, if that
Yeah.
actually happened.
Mm.
And the Pope, rightly, as a religious leader, but I don't think he'll be religious, objected to this and said that it was highly inappropriate. It was, in effect, disgusting. And then Trump hit back and said, well, what does he know about foreign policy? And he's a friend of criminals and things like that, which is a ridiculous response. It's that typical 12-year-old brat response that he specializes in. And but it's interesting. I would suggest that, and we'll come to the look at the synastry of Pope Leo and
Mm.
Trump in a moment. But of course, remember, Virgo does not seek conflict as a rule. It seeks to understand, to be perfect in a sense, to analyze a situation, not to lock horns. Jupiter in Leo may, that raises the head above the parapet. You could
Yes,
put it that
yes,
way.
yes.
But he doesn't really have the structure chart of somebody who's going to be, locking horns all the time. I think he wants to negotiate his way through a lot of things.
And
That's what
he's
I see.
also he has got Mercury in Libra.
Yes,
And I
yes,
think that's somebody that really looks to the mediator, looks how to find the balance, the argument, the law,
yeah,
what's real and what isn't to do with the law. So I
yeah.
find that quite interesting. I wouldn't say he's a man of conflict at all.
And of course, Venus disposits that Mercury, which, in other words, we're
Yes,
combining that
yes,
tendency to diplomacy and so forth with a sign, with a planet which in itself represents those
yeah,
things, but is also immersed in the mental energy of Virgo, which wishes also to cure and make things better, which is
yeah.
another Virgo theme.
Wanting to actually wants to make the world a better place, doesn't it?
Yes, yes,
Mm,
yes. And
mm.
of course, in the papacy, in the Vatican, that then gets amplified as a religious virtue.
Yes. So shall
Even if
we move? Shall we move on to the synastry chart because it's so interesting. Here
now,
we have them.
I
Yeah.
mean, talk about, this is a ticking time bomb. I mean, the obvious thing that screams at you is that the Pope's Pluto is brought to Donald Trump's Mars. And well,
Yeah.
let's think. Mars is the god of war. Pluto is resident in hell.
Yeah.
Now, So we're not looking at a picnic here. We're not looking at a bromantic dinner à deux at McDonald's.
No.
We're looking at power struggles, obsession. I'm not suggesting all these things apply. I can't imagine the Pope getting too obsessed. But it's interesting that there is something about the Pope that causes this very stormy response from Trump, and probably explains the way in which they've negotiated with each other at a distance.
Well, would you say that's the Mercury on Trumpy's Jupiter?
Well, there's an interesting thing about that. I mean, at first glance, you might think, well, that's the one good thing they've got in the chart together. That somehow, but the trouble is, Jupiter is the high end intellectually, and Mercury is the low end.
Yes.
It's sort of, once again, it's that thing that positively you could say there is some space between them for some hypocrisy.
And it is trine Trumpy's Uranus.
Yes, that's a very good observation, actually.
And that then brings in the North Node. So I would say this is, and obviously with Pluto on the ascendant, I mean, in evolutionary astrology, this is very karmic, let's say, inverted commas, past lifey kind of stuff going on here.
Maybe they locked horns in a previous life and have come back to see whether they can do a better job. You know, another thing to notice, Sue, is that we have nodal axes.
Yes.
Sus on nerf, or whatever you want to call it, heads or tails. In other words, the Pope's south node's on Trump's north node, and vice versa down at the south node. And one way of interpreting it is that they look at each other and they think that that person over there is a word that I'm not going to use, but it's not complementary, because in many ways what they're looking at is the undeveloped side of somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they've got it both ways.
Yes.
And in the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So
yes.
It's the words, it's social media,
yeah.
it's over ideas, philosophy, things like that.
Yeah.
And you've got Trump's, sorry?
Law with Sagittarius as well.
Law. And what is legal?
Yeah.
And then, of course, bang in the middle of all that, we've got two provocateurs. We've got Trump's Uranus, as well as his sun, which I think also makes it rather like Pluto-Mars. I mean, it's a very volatile combination. And then you've got Black Moon Lilith as part of that nodal axis.
Yes.
Down in the Pope's north node, on his Trump's moon south node conjunct. And that's amazing, because what that tells us potentially, and I'm afraid I don't have any high hopes about this, but that theoretically, potentially, it's possible that the Pope is there in Trump's life to set some kind of philosophical or religious example. I can't believe I've just said that.
No, I think you're absolutely, well, you know, I always think that the North Node, but it is something, I always think this, you know, we're talking about the moon is the soul, isn't it? Well, that's how I look at the moon, as soul.
Yes.
I do. That gives me hope, actually, that there may be some way through, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight.
Well, the one thing one can, with whatever your politics, one thing to be said about Trump is that he has low cunning. In other words, he's quite sharp to moods and trends. He really does have it. If you look at his draconic chart, his Uranus actually moves into Pisces. So there is a sole purpose in him to break boundaries down, but unfortunately, breaking boundaries is not a virtue in itself.
Victor, it's interesting talking about boundaries, because they're Saturns, they're wide conjunction. It's a wide trine.
Yes,
they're Saturns, which that's interesting.
That points. It's another positive, I would suggest.
But hopefully.
Well, it's not all doom and gloom. The only thing that's interesting to me, though, is that although it's a bit wide, but I will allow it. If you look at the Pope's Uranus in Leo up in the 11th house, it's sort of dissociate conjunct. It's stretching it a bit. Trump's Venus and Saturn. And you know what when I saw that, and I wrote a piece about it in Stellar, it's almost like Trump will see the Pope as a disruptive person. But in the case of the Pope, he will see Trump as, how can we put it? Because it's in Cancer, you see. And
Yeah.
it's almost like they've got diametrically opposite ideas of what is the law or what is the establishment or what is professional. I mean, I'm looking at Saturnian instincts now, themes and things like that. But it's just quite interesting that you have a very disruptive planet quite close to Trump's Venus.
And I always think Saturn and Venus can look at, it's the homelands, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Especially
very
in
much
the
so.
11th house.
Structure.
It's structure of it's the homelands, and then that brings back in his moon, Trumpy's moon. And from what I understand, he's surrounded by a very, very how can I put this politely? People that really do believe in the Christian religion, I'll put it that way.
Well, you mean Donald Trump?
Yeah,
Well, he
yeah.
surrounds himself with these happy clappy preachers, doesn't he,
Well,
in the White
they're
House?
more than that. They're more than happy clappy.
Are they?
Oh God, yeah. They're really fundamentalists. Yes, yes.
Not just televangelists or anything like that.
No, I think there's a lot more going on than that. But maybe the Pope. I'm just going to chuck this out here. Will bring that sort of. Maybe there'll be a breakthrough on the higher aspect of Uranus is also the Great Awakening, isn't it? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but maybe he'll represent something to Trump that he might think again or think
Well,
differently about what he's doing.
yes, that's a very good point, and I think
I
sort of
don't know.
finishes the point I
Oh God.
started saying, and then I lost my way.
Okay.
But the chart not just tells you what may be coming and what is, but it also lays out the potential of things. And
Mm,
even Trump, in his own funny, peculiar way, um, maybe breaking things down or addressing certain issues that need to be addressed. That's no defense for a lot of his policies. I mean, the Iran
no.
thing is still a great mystery to me. But
Mm.
it's back to that idea, are certain people born to cause disruption in order to go back to rethinks and resets?
Yes, I mean, again, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
and I should say, a lot of people are saying this is actually the Abrahamic War, the final reckoning has broken out. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it's interesting that the Pope's gone in there as well. He's part of it. He may not, there's definitely he's part of the whole caboose that's these three Abrahamic religions that are playing out what's been written in the Book of Enoch, for example, that
Mm-hmm.
there will be this day of reckoning and there will be the great breaking down of whatever there is. I mean, forget the rest of the world, by the way. We don't matter. So I'm curious. I'm just very curious about that. Very
Yeah,
curious
much
about that.
depends. I mean, we know Trump. I mean, whether he's not going to go for a third term. I just wonder whether he's going to vacate the White House when he ought to. I think that would be an issue. But and
Yeah.
then there may be issues about his own longevity, given his lifestyle and one thing and another, and also the sort of ambient threats that are surrounding him, as we know, the various reports of assassination attempts, things like that. So
Yeah.
we don't know, and we won't speculate about that. But I notice also, I don't take too much notice of the aspects between the suns, but when they're on the same degree virtually, that also adds
Yeah.
piquancy. And so you see they're on the 21st, 22nd degree, Virgo, Gemini. And, squares tend to have sharp edges,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
you know?
And oh, actually their moons are both mutable.
Yes.
That's about that's where it sort of begins and ends, really. I think I can't remember JD Vance's chart offhand, but I've got a funny feeling he's got his Pluto on. Is his it can't be on his Mars. I think it's no, I'm just thinking if it makes any aspect to the Pope. I think it's on Trump's sun. I think I may be wrong. But in that case, the Pope would also be brought into with the South Node up there, if this is true, into the picture as well of JD Vance's world.
Well, he had he did visit the Pope recently, didn't he? Did I
Well,
imagine that?
There was some, could you
Or
know,
was
I'd
it
have to
Rubio? I
find
can't
it.
remember now.
But I think he tried to tell the Pope about religion,
Yes,
which didn't
yes.
work very well.
No, no. I mean,
So, there's something going on there as well. Yeah, it's an interesting
I wish
one.
I'd done the trouble with these kind of conversations. They can,
Yeah,
expand because
yes,
now I wish I'd done JD Vance's chart just out of curiosity. But anyway, I think you're right about there's certainly a strong Pluto
yes.
connection to Trump's chart.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah,
Yes. I
yeah.
just can't remember it offhand.
Mm.
But is there something else you'd like to say before? What about their I'm just thinking about their chirons as well. So you've got um the Pope's Chiron in Aquarius, and then you've got where's old Trumpy's
It's down in the
yeah
second house. Yeah.
down in Libra. Are they? But they're not talking to each other really.
No, not
No.
really. And I still, I've read books about Chiron, but I still don't use Chiron. I use Black Moon Lilith more than I use Chiron
Hmm.
because, you read these huge books about Chiron and you start thinking, well, that sounds a little bit like this. It sounds a little bit like that. So in my head, it still hasn't got definition. And I'm still not
Right.
quite sure whether it's the wounded healer or it's using your own hurts to educate others. I mean, that thought,
Yes.
is interesting.
I use Chiron rather than Black Moon Lilith, funny enough. So I'm
And
the
how do
opposite.
you define Chiron?
I always think about where it's that place where we're most vulnerable. It's
Right.
that place you get triggered. It's that place where you go, oh God, not again. And then, you have to work through it. And it normally brings in a childhood. You normally play out Chiron in your childhood in some way and have to work through that. And it's whether or not you embrace the Chiron wound, whether you do evolve into wisdom. And obviously, 50 is extremely important for Chiron because that's the Chiron return.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's got such a strange orb that you never know what it's doing or where. But Chiron in Aquarius often means somebody that has always felt the outsider,
Yes,
never felt like they belong. Yeah.
yes.
And that
And
I
it's
don't know
in,
about the Pope, but he's maybe that's what he does feel like.
well, in the case of Trump, it's interesting, he's written that book, The Art of the Deal, and he's made
Yeah.
himself famous as the deal maker. And it's interesting that Chiron is in Libra
Second house.
between Neptune and Jupiter.
Yeah.
And we would associate Libra with deal makers negotiating.
Yes, absolutely. And Venus, Venus money.
Venus money.
Isn't that
It
interesting?
is very interesting indeed. So
And it's
there's
in
a
the
lot,
second
there's a
house.
lot here to be said, and I hope people at home are seeing other things besides. But we're
Yeah,
sort of touching
sure.
the headlines.
Well, maybe there is a kind of dealy thing may go on with Neptune and the Pope's Mercury and Jupiter.
And that's why I think that it. I wouldn't say that. I mean, yes, it is a combustible relationship. There's no question
Yeah,
about that. But there's
yeah,
enough going on here for some kind of arrangement or understanding.
yes.
I
I
really
think
do think that, but much depends on the longevity of both men. I mean, in many ways, the Pope's going to be around probably a lot longer than Trump,
yes. Well, yes. So he's the Pope's just turned 70.
which
So
is virtually teenagers in paper terms. Whereas our
yeah.
dear Trump's going to be 80 any minute now.
Yes, yes, he is. Yes.
Um,
Yeah, he's
and
getting up
um,
there.
and he's giving a good name for the elderly, because how many
He is.
people long past pension age are storming around the world as he does? It gives
Well,
hope to all.
he does. He's the Pluto and Leo generation. The Stones are just about to put out a new album. Is that the right thing to say these
Yeah,
days?
yeah, yeah.
They're well into their age. Look at Paul McCartney. We are a generation that refuses to lie down and die.
We're zombies. I don't know whether I am,
You're
but
not. You're
I'm
too young
that
to be.
it's one of those horror films. The zombie gets run over and then it pops up again. There is no roadkill in a zombie film,
There's
people.
a- On that lovely note, shall we move on to Alana?
Melania.
Melania.
Now, why am I talking about Melania? Well, she's been doing some strange things lately before we look
She
at the
has.
chart.
Should we just? I'm going to stop sharing
Yeah.
for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. No, have I stopped sharing or have I completely?
Or do I stop sharing?
Yeah, you stop sharing just for a minute.
Yeah.
There we go. That's it. Hang on. That's it. So just to do a break between the Pope and Trumpy. And so, yes, why do you feel it's important to look at this Trump and Melania?
Because something is happening in the land of Melania. Since the second term started, she is not the Melania of the first term. This
She's not.
Melania has gone indie. She is now operating entirely independently of Trump. And there's a lawsuit going through, I think, the New York court at the moment over precisely where she lives. The author Michael Wolff said that she does not live in Florida and she does not live in the White House. She lives at Trump Tower in New York. Now,
Yes.
I'm not quite sure to what extent that could be regarded as defamatory because there are a lot of other things besides. But the point of the matter is there is a perception, rightly or wrongly, that she's living a separate life. And she wrote her memoirs shortly after, and that in itself, Trump barely gets a look in, by the way. And then there's this amazing film she's made. Now, you asked me earlier, is it worth watching? Well, as a Gemini, I could say to you yes and no. If you think that you're going to learn much about power, forget it. But what it is interesting, you'll see in a minute when we look back at the Melania chart, that it's very, very Taurian. She's got about 4 planets in Taurus, if you look at it.
Yes, she has.
And she's got Mercury, Venus conjunct his midheaven. This is just from memory in Taurus, which is on Algol, which is like the most horrific fixed star you can imagine. I don't want to preempt too much, but what I've noticed also is that in this time, we'll see that transiting Uranus, our planet of independence, has been moving over her Mercury and Venus in late Taurus.
Right.
And when it goes into Gemini, I'm only doing this from memory, when it goes into Gemini, which is, I think, the 5th degree Mars, that's going into, next year or the year after, there is something very, very stormy happening. Now, the point the reason why, to answer your question, is that she's showing this marked independence. In the movie, for example, it's all about her dresses. You see her coming in out of chauffeur-driven cars, back into the luxury pad, wherever she is, and all you see is legs. Half the time it's just her lovely legs, and stilettos. But the point of the matter is, there's this wonderful scene when Donald Trump phones her, "Oh, honey, did you watch me?" And she said, "No, not yet, Mr. President, but I will." And, how fake is that, Mr. President? I mean, how many wives call their husbands Mr. President, for heaven's sake? And then in another scene,
maybe
they come out of a banquet. Sorry?
Maybe it just turns him on.
Well, you can call me Mr. Editor if you like, although we're not married. What might have been, Sue? But anyway, we won't go there. But but the point of the matter is, isn't it interesting that in this very marked time that she's showing independence? I mean, can you imagine what Trump felt when he put on his televisions, plural, and saw his wife making a statement from the White House, disavowing knowledge of Epstein, denying whatever, and then saying, the Congress should talk to the survivors of Epstein. Now, how many times have you heard Donald Trump talk about survivors? So she has gone on a completely different road. Why? We'll see in a minute. Uranus.
Well, I'm very interested in her natal chart that she's got Neptune opposite. Well, it's actually opposite her, out of sign opposite her Venus, but it's also opposite her Mars. So when Uranus goes across, it's going to be sparking off her natal Neptune in Sagittarius. There's a lot of stuff that might not be quite true going on there.
I think that it's layers and layers again. It's fog. It's the fog of memory, the fog of PR. I mean, I feel that
survival Mars, though, isn't it? Hanging.
Should we put Cher back on?
Let's do it. Yeah,
because everyone at home be thinking, oh,
yeah. The other thing is she's only 56.
Oh, she's a youngie.
She's a youngie and he's 80.
Yeah. And there
Big
are lots of
80s.
rich men around. I'm just saying, Sue.
Oh, okay. I think I'm
I'm not
beyond
saying
all of
anything
that.
else. Um, I'll just go into slideshow so you can see the
Okay, okay.
charts, people. Hoping that's the right button I've clicked.
You go to slideshow.
It should come up, slideshow
There's
now.
Melania. There she is.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I was saying that she's mega Taurus. Bearing in mind we don't have a birth time, so we don't know that it is in
Yeah.
the second house. But as I say, I don't like houseless charts, and so just
Mm.
ignore the house position. But she's definitely got 4 planets in Taurus, which makes her highly transactional, very luxury loving. And the funny thing about the Melania film, Sue, is that it's all about fabrics, about gleam, about fashion, money, food.
Food. She likes
Placement
food.
table. I mean, she makes the Met Gala look like some rustic picnic. I mean, but what's funny, I've since seen a documentary because you see a lot of scenes where she's being guided by some person about, where guests are going to be placed at various banquets and so forth. But in fact, that's all decided by someone else. She has nothing to do with it. The main thing that she did have a lot to do with was this part. She wanted her turkey neck to be slightly, she doesn't have a turkey neck, but she said turkey neck. And also
Right.
that strange hat that she wore, the inaugural
Yes.
thing, where it prevented Trump from
Yes.
pecking her.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that interesting?
But
But I just wonder, I'm just going to ask this, I mean, um, how do I say this?
without
Um,
defaming someone,
yes, exactly. Some women do marry for prestige. I mean, we've all got that in us, that ability with all that Taurus. She wouldn't want to be with somebody who was poor.
it's a strange thing. I don't know about you, Sue, but I've made an interesting discovery at least 60 years ago
Oh,
that rich people tend to marry rich people or
yes.
people who want to be rich.
Yes, and then she has got that moon in Capricorn, and that's very ambitious.
Very ambitious indeed.
Very ambitious.
We cannot know whether it's the love match of the century. I don't know which
No.
century we might be talking about. I don't say that she's incapable of loving Trump, but we've seen so much news footage where she's flicking his hand away. And I
Yeah.
find it fascinating that you can make a movie about yourself and then you have like 5 minute credits at the end saying what you've done as part of your legacy, and Trump doesn't get one mention.
Yes, because
And
without him, she
well,
wouldn't be there.
she won't
But
be.
it is interesting though, if you look at her moon is trine her sun. I'm not saying this is true, obviously, but could this be somebody who is in love with themselves?
Well, first of all, it's all in Earth, to say the obvious.
Mm.
Secondly, I would say that the moon can be as illusory as Neptune.
Hmm.
In fact, in the old system, it is Neptune. No,
Yeah,
I've just
yeah.
lied, actually, but there are
Oh,
some thematic overspills.
yeah.
And the trine in itself is easy. It's a good benefic
Yeah.
aspect. I would say this tells me that there is an orientation towards practicality. I mean, she has a super
Yes.
earthy chart, super earthy.
Yes. Yes.
And so she will always be thinking. The funny thing about Trump, I forgot to say, guess what? In his natal chart, no earth at all.
And there she is.
And
Isn't that
she's mega.
interesting?
In
She's
the
mega
solar
earthy.
fire system, her value is 12 points, which is massive. In
Yes.
Trump's chart, it's 0 points. So although he's a money maker,
Interesting.
he's not practical because he's forever selling
Yeah.
dreams.
Yes. But it's so interesting with lots of clients. I'll say, they haven't got air or they haven't got whatever.
Yes.
And they'll say, oh, actually, my husband's Libra or my husband's I don't know, Capricorn, and you just go, oh my God. So somewhere inside us, we're always looking for that part of us that's missing. And often it plays out in the partner and they do the practical work, or, the client does the practical work, and the husband does the airy fairy. But that's how they bring all the elements back into their world again.
It's often said.
Very interesting.
It's a fascinating thing you've just said there. But it's also interesting, a variation on that is when you have a missing element, you may find a form of work that substitutes for the thing. I'll give you an example. I did a piece ages back about people without water in their chart. And a lot of those people are to be found in the music world. David Bowie, for example, is a good example. I think Bowie, I mean, don't take everything I say as gospel.
Yeah.
But so you've got people with very little water or no water, but what do? They go into, they find a talent, or the talent is within them, that enables them to make connections to masses of people.
Yes.
And an empathetic connection, which is sometimes missing in their personal interactions.
That's it, because the element's about personal. That's it.
That's it.
Do you know what? I haven't thought about that before. Of course, it is the personal thing, but it doesn't mean to say, I'm just thinking off the top of my head that the playing out into the world, so they'll have the connection out in the world, but not necessarily personally.
Exactly. And I think Kate Bush is another example of that. I mean, she's got a very rich personal life. I'm not suggesting she lacks empathy, but she's a very, there's a similar thing going on here. And it's worth another discussion, actually.
It is. And she's only got, if I'm right, a Mars in Gemini. I think she only got one air. I don't do the 12, I do the 7.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a different system to you. So I only look at the 7 seen planets. But isn't that, God, that's interesting, isn't it?
I said earlier, now we've got the chart in front of us. If we look down to the second house, although it's not really the second house, but, I was saying to you that transiting Uranus has been hovering around Mercury and Venus for quite a while now, especially Venus. And when you've got transiting Uranus on Venus, one of the themes that arise is detachment within relationship, or breaking within the bonds of relationship.
Yeah.
And it works. I mean, on the actual day that she made that statement in the White House about Epstein, transiting Uranus was exactly on Venus.
Good Lord.
Within a few minutes.
I mean, do you think they use astrology? Or do you think it's just synchronistic?
I think it's just astrology. Because we are blessed with seeing lives symbolically.
Yeah.
I mean, looking ahead a little bit, as you'll see for yourself, I mean, Uranus will go into Gemini on the 26th of April, and Uranus will be going backwards and forwards for a while, but it's going to hit Mars, and that's going to be very rupturing. I don't know what that's about.
Well, maybe that will be the rupture. I mean, when is that happening? That's happening within this year. Is it a year period?
No, it's probably, wait a minute.
Maybe 2 years.
It could be towards the end of this year, going into next year. And then it's going to go backwards again.
Yes.
And forwards.
It's going to be bumpy ride. Should we put up Trump's chart and just see where they are together?
Sorry about the size of the chart. Something went wrong there.
I think everybody can see it all right. Just have to peer closer. So
here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Go for it.
So we see that we're going back to what you were saying about the transactional nature of their relationship.
Yeah.
But we can't prove it. And I'm not making any allegation, but I think it's very telling that her Venus and Mercury are conjunct his MC in Taurus, the sign of transaction.
Yeah.
And it's taken up to the top part of his chart.
Yes.
So it's not just her being transactional. He is a highly transactional. I mean, we talked about Libra being like the negotiator, the deal maker. They're both, Taurus, Libra are Venus ruled signs.
Yes.
So there is always something of that. Trying to reach out to others, all that stuff to get the deal. So I think given that she's got that massive representation of Taurus in her chart, conjunct his public image, if you like.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she's the decorative thing. It's very strange in form, Sue. that she
Yeah.
actually seems at times to take the piss out of her decorative persona because of the great focus on clothes and this and that and banquets. And I just feel that she brings a
Well, she
youthful
brings the
beauty to
glamour,
his
doesn't
side.
she?
Sorry?
She brings, I mean, the two are, whether you like Trump or not, doesn't matter.
Yes.
They're both glamorous in their own. I mean, it is the glamour, not necessarily that. Well, it is glamour. I mean, huge projections as well. But I'm just thought, that what is the truth, and it's the esoteric teachings of glamour, which is what is true and authentic and what is not, and the kind of the gloss over what really the truth is. Isn't
That's
this
why
interesting?
it is interesting. And that's why you should look at the Melania film, not because it's going to entertain you. In fact, it probably
Yes.
will annoy you, but because of its strong Taurian themes, which I personally don't think she knows anything about astrology. I've never heard any rumors that she consults
No.
astrologers.
Right.
He doesn't look like one that consults astrologers either. And yet, isn't it funny to see the symbolic
Yeah.
life in their charts?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It is fascinating. I want to just say something about Libra, though, because she's got her Uranus on his Neptune in Libra, and I know they're the outer planets, but I know a Libra quite well, and I wonder if anybody else listening to this feels the same. She is an expert at I'm not saying manipulating relationships, that's not true, but at creating relationships that will give her something.
I think that's a very good
It's a really
interpretation.
interesting thing.
Yeah.
She's not great at personal relationships. That's challenging, but I've seen her. She goes into action.
Very much so. And it's
Yes,
been said, not least
very
by me,
interesting.
not least by me, it has been said that although Trump is a super dominant character and needs to be
Hmm.
in control of everything, um, domestically, the little times that they actually spend together, probably she's setting the temperature because he has high mutability, she has high fixity. So she is like a kind of strange anchor in his life. And
Well,
he seems to have allowed her a lot more freedom of action, if I can put it in that sexist,
yeah,
than perhaps he would allow even many of his close colleagues in politics.
but she has this moon in Capricorn, so she knows where the money is. She knows where to smell it out.
And she will also be drawn to power.
Yes,
I mean, in
yes,
fairness to her, she may not have fully realized what she was marrying 20 odd years ago.
of course.
She wouldn't have known. But he was, I remember seeing a wonderful talk show with Trump back from I think it may be early 90s with Dame Edna Everage. Can you imagine? Dame Edna Everage and Donald Trump. What a combination. And at the end, Edna Everage said, and here is the next president of the United States. And of course, he had years to go. But it was fascinating that even then, back in the late 80s, early 90s, he was talking about, and he had another wife then, I think.
Yes, he did.
He was talking about being a president. So I suppose what I'm saying to you is Melania must have known that there was the likelihood that he would try for the White House.
Yes, it's an interesting one. I mean, and also, this is conspiracy theories, obviously. We don't know how they met, but there's a possibility they did meet through a mutual person who was quite influential themselves.
I should put it legally to you so that we don't get sued for libel. I don't want you to go down in smoke.
No, no, no,
I'm very
absolutely not.
protective of you.
But it is, there is a conspiracy theory out there. But you're absolutely right about wealthy people seem to attract wealthy people.
Well, they seek each other out because
They
they want
seek
to
each
double.
other out,
They
yeah,
seek
and
each other
especially
out.
when you're particularly beautiful.
Also, your average rich person suspects everybody's after their money, which is probably true.
Well, it's power, isn't it?
It's money as well, and money, power, whatever you want to call it. It's like
It's power. It buys power.
And I mean, legally, what we can say is that in her statement that she herself made in the
Yes,
White House
yes,
recently, while Uranus was on her Venus, she said that certain, shall we say, characterizations of her relationship with Epstein were false.
yes, yes.
And that is the nature of her legal action against Michael Wolff in the New York court.
Mm.
So we can say that because we're reporting the facts of what she said
Yes,
and what he's saying.
yes, yes,
And and that goes to the heart of her bid for independence. Not only does she live probably separately from Trump, separate bedrooms. You see that in Melania, by the way, the film. They go
yeah.
separate ways one night. He goes in one direction, she goes in the other, back to their respective bedrooms, because he spends most of his time in front of his 10 televisions in his bedroom, munching on burgers
And tweeting.
and sending angry messages to people,
Yes,
like the
yes,
Pope.
yes. Well, you wouldn't want to sleep with that, would you, really?
Personally, no.
No, no, nor I wouldn't want that either. That would be a bit tiring.
No
But
matter how rich.
no matter how rich, no, no. And I mean, it would be such an interesting thing, wouldn't it, to really look at, relationships of very, very wealthy people, whether these are, relationships that are, are truly loving, or it is an arrangement.
I'll give you a little observation. You said that you're not terribly into Lilith. Well, let me give you an example of how it can
Mm.
work. Well, I keep coughing today. In this synastry chart, Lilith in both senses is relevant because her Lilith in the 12th house, taken to the 12th house, I should say,
Yes, yes,
is more or less conjunct his Pluto. But
yes,
then notice that in her chart, her
yes,
Neptune is conjunct his Lilith.
yes.
Now, what does this tell me? It tells me that this is a relationship based on secrets. And Neptune, of course, as we've said
Yeah,
politely, is illusory. It can be
yeah.
glamorous. It can be foggy. We don't quite know. We don't quite know where she's from, but he'll know. And
He does know.
but I think that in many ways she represents the bigger threat because Pluto has a more demonic or martial sort of spirit, and Lilith is conjunct that Pluto in what is his 12th house
Mm.
in the
Uh,
sense.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, which you might not want to answer. I mean, do you feel like that I mean, she obviously knows stuff. They both know stuff. But do you think there could be, she has a hold over him from what she knows?
I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that that is the case, and it probably works both ways.
Yeah.
That what they've got, when we talk about transaction, we're not just talking about buying a bag of beans in your
No,
in your Waitrose. We're actually talking
no.
about what information. The word compromat that's used in
Yes.
Russians. We know something about you. There's a
Yeah.
story which I won't repeat that Putin has compromat on Trump based on some allegations which I won't repeat,
No, no.
but
Well,
which sound unlikely to me. But nonetheless, one could cite that where you have mutual secrets that you don't want the public to know, although
yeah.
they will come out eventually. And it is in the nature of Lilith to hold in. Of course, remember, we're not dealing with two people seeking great spiritual enlightenment, although I may be wrong about them. I mean, she may change as she gets older. She's got
Let
a
me just say,
disseminating moon, for example. She may actually, in later life, set herself up as some kind of lifestyle guru. You never know.
she could do that. She'll want a business.
Well, she made nearly $30 million from Melania, and that's even before anyone saw it. That's transactional.
Yeah, no, she's going to want a very, very wealthy, a very successful business, definitely.
I
Yeah.
mean, when Jackie Onassis lost her husband tragically, who did she find but Aristotle Onassis? And she only married him for his money.
Well,
And now I'm not
power or
suggesting Melania
something.
would do that. I mean, she was a lovely cat. Was she Capricorn or Cancer? I think she was Cancer, Jackie
Okay.
Onassis. But anyway, leave that aside.
It was a miserable marriage, though, poor thing.
Oh, it was absolutely, for his sake, he just bought another. It was like a Bulgari gem.
Yeah, poor. Yeah, that was a very sad story. That whole.
I'm not saying Melania would do that. I'm not even suggesting she would.
No,
But
of
she's not going
course
to marry
not.
your average Joe.
No, oh no, 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 absolutely not. That would be very no. Let's not speculate on that. I don't think we ought to. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this before we draw things to a
I
close.
think we've brought it to, I mean, I don't know whether we don't know about her ascendant because we don't have the time. I don't know why I kept the ascendant, the
No.
angular points in there, quite frankly. But I think we've kind of got it. I think we've got the
Yeah,
main themes of it,
I
and
think so.
I
I
think
think,
we've pulled them apart sufficiently.
yeah, yes, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, let's watch this space.
Shall
But
I end the share?
yes, end the share. Yeah. I
Well,
think
that
it's,
was fascinating. Thank you for that.
oh, well, it's just, you know what, this is why I get so excited about or enthusiastic about astrology. You can't make it up, especially when you're looking at somebody else's chart and you see it playing out. And you just go, well, I mean, this raises this huge question about free choice, doesn't it?
Well, it's interesting. AI is going to pose. I don't want to talk about AI today, but I will make one point. If AI is capable of mimicking us because astrology is basically codified, we have rules, we have outcomes, and things like that, then to what extent can we even bother to talk about fate if a machine can replicate what we do based on outcomes and what we can read in books?
Yeah.
And so when you ask the question, is it fated or what? I don't know.
The only thing is, you need, I don't know about you, and maybe I'm just really old-fashioned now, but I need the human contact.
I've just written a piece for the Australian version of Journal. I think it's called the Federation of Australian Astrologers Journal. And it's all about AI and astrology. And I conclude that, yes, AI is going to beat us at our own game because I can see it already in 1 year.
Yes, it's huge.
AIs like Gemini, Grok,
Yeah.
various other AIs are actually coming up with some pretty good, what I call synthetic analyses of
Yeah.
horoscopes. I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
Grok do my solar return. It's on the
Oh,
23rd. Hello,
right.
Joan Collins. We've got the same birthday, but she's BC and I'm AD.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my
I
God.
asked Grok, I uploaded my solar return chart for the year, which has Scorpio rising, by the way. That's going to be great. But Uranus on Sun, and gave a perfectly fine analysis of my solar return. It wasn't fantastic, but it was decent.
But you know, if you don't have the, for me, it have to have that human interaction for things to
Well,
work for
I
me.
was going to say to you, because the editor said, well, is it all doom and gloom? And I said, well, we still can say no.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I think I've witted on it. I mean, Ray Grass and I talked about this. You know, there's so many people, you know, with walking around now with apps, and they're, you know, every minute they're looking at what Mercury's doing to whatever, and shall I get out of bed or not? And I do think that's really sad, and that's not what traditional astrology is about, because it is about the Hermetic teachings, which is looking at as above, so below, and so within, so without. And it is this human, this the synastry of the human relationship. And that's when you get your visions or your ideas or your messages, or and that's not what you get with AI. It's very one-dimensional.
Yeah, the trouble is, we've now got a technology, and I'm not being Luddite about this, I'm just being realistic, that we're now dealing with a technology which literally at the moment does not seem to have any limits on its development, because in time, AI will create other AIs. And the
Yeah,
essence of it is mimicry. It has this brilliant ability
yeah.
to do what Sue Brain does, or what even little me gets up to, and then replicates it without having to ask itself the question whether this is divinatory or what.
Mm,
But I understand what you're saying.
yeah, you know, we are moving into a world that I have no idea what the rules are. You know, it's a completely different world, and I'm just watching it with interest,
And
going,
you call yourself an
I
Aquarius.
know, call myself, I'm an old-fashioned Aquarian, if you don't mind. You know, strap in, because, you know, if you don't go with it, you're woo. Well,
Right.
you know, I mean, and does it matter anyway? You know, I mean, you know,
I've got
we've all,
transiting Uranus
yeah, on your
now
sun. Yeah.
stepping into my sun. What do you think is
Mm,
going to? Well, I've had a major rupture already. I won't go into details now,
no.
but the themes of the association
Yeah.
are beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, on that note, shall we? So thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this.
I
And
always love speaking with you, Sue Brain. I
and
think Steve Judd had too much of your time. I'm sorry. Don't try to send the Steve Judd. I'm looking at you. And I'll see you at the Astrological Association conference.
and you know, and if people have enjoyed this, we can always do another one. You know, we can always find another chart to have a chat
Oh,
about.
we touched on so many themes like
Yeah, we
missing
did.
elements today, things like
Yeah. So thank you all for listening, and we're really appreciate of anybody. And if you enjoyed this, you know, leave us a message. We love that, and give us a like. We love that too. And so I'm going to just say thank you, Victor, so much, and bye for now.
by you.